Welcome to my Earthen Bulwark Trample Druid build guide, T12 viable and incredibly fun to play. It is a completely new iteration of what once used to be, in my opinion, the coolest D4 build ever. To make it work, we drastically reduce all our cooldowns by casting our ultimate Petrify, as with some tweaking it allows us to spam both Earthen Bulwark and Trample non-stop. To tackle harder content and bosses, we also incorporate Landslide, which, all in all, makes us the true Earth God amongst all current Druid builds. For me, this build is for sure the most interesting Druid build out there now, as we truly combo all our abilities with each other instead of just spamming one button. While following this build guide though, please take into consideration that it is very hard to even put this build together and that it is, at least for now, far from being the best Druid build. Also, to maximize our damage, we really have to pull off our combo perfectly, which makes the experience quite demanding gameplay wise. It is however super different than everything else out there, and that's why I enjoy playing it. So, let's get started with the overview. For starters, to enable our build, we reduce our cooldowns with the legendary resource aspect of Apogeic Furor. For it to work efficiently, it in turn requires us to also have no cooldown on our ultimate ability. To do that, we choose Petrify as our ult and we utilize its Greater Petrify upgrade alongside the Flicker Step unique charm. The key damage uniques we take are Khamsin Stepwalkers that increase Earthen Bulwark's damage by a whopping 200x and provide us with its Earthen Shrapnel upgrade for free. This is what makes our Earthen Bulwark explode whenever it gets depleted or whenever we cast an Earthen Bulwark once we already have one on. Insatiable Fury that boosts trample damage by a similarly absurd number and allows us to cast it twice without incurring its cooldown. To tackle bosses and yellow elites, we grant Landslide its crazy damage landmine upgrade alongside its initial damage bonus passive. This ability will carry us through boss fights like nothing else can. As all builds now do, we further boost our damage by utilizing resolve stacking enabled by the might of the Ursine unique ring. We benefit from those stacks also when it comes to our defense thanks to the legendary defense aspect Glenn's Anvil. To additionally proc Earthen Bulwark automatically, we equip Neo Cure Reward. It will always proc Earthen Bulwark around each 4 seconds. Lastly, to make our gameplay smooth, we use Cyclone Armor with its Reversal upgrade that allows us to pull in enemies that are nearby. We also apply Vulnerable by using it because of the legendary Overcharge aspect that we transfigure on our amulet. A lot of our damage comes from the Song of the Old Mountain charm set that works great, especially for this build because of all the different earth skills we are using. To explain its 5-piece bonus briefly, enemies store all damage dealt to them while petrified, then explode when petrified expires, taking 200% of the stored damage. What I observed while playing this build is that the Petrify triggered by our charm set counts as a separate Petrify than our normal ult cast and, importantly, is shorter in its duration. Thus, our enemies can be technically at the same time under 2 separate Petrify effects. This means that the 200% of our damage dealt applied by first Petrify's eruption caused by our charm sets gets stored again for our ult Petrify eruption. If this really works like I think it does, then I think Petrify as an ult should be used in many other builds other than this one. As compared to all those one button builds, this build's rotation is just something else. Be wary though, as it works differently against single targets and groups of enemies. So, when we approach an elite pack, we cast Trample to get next to it. We cast Debilitating Roar for a defense boost and immediately follow up with Cyclone Armor to pull all enemies together and apply Vulnerable to them. Once the monsters are grouped closely together, we cast Trample again. We have to be quick when it comes to using those abilities as we only have 2 seconds to recast Trample before it goes on cooldown. We finish our rotation with Earthen Bulwark and then Petrify. After this, all our cooldowns get reduced to 0 and we enter a different rotation that will repeat until we slay the elite pack. We first cast Cyclone Armor for the vulnerability proc and then spam Earthen Bulwark and Trample while using Debilitating Roar whenever it is off cooldown. When we finish this round of casting all our abilities, Petrify should still have around 14 seconds cooldown, so we proceed to use Evade twice to reduce it back to 0 with Flicker Step's ability. Once it's ready, we cast it and repeat the rotation. As you probably noticed, we do not use Landslide while fighting groups of enemies, as its damage only shines in single target environment. Thanks to Flicker Step, evading through multiple enemies drastically reduces our ultimate's cooldown, effectively giving it no downtime in those scenarios. However, under one enemy circumstances, that downtime exists and it is filled by us casting Landslide. So, let's move to such scenarios and see what a truly complicated rotation looks like. When the enemy we are about to fight is a boss that is about to emerge from the ground, we first spam Landslide on its spawn zone until our spirit gets depleted. To cast it more times than we normally could, we use Trample twice to bring our spirit again to full and then use Landslide until we have 5 of them on the ground. When the boss finally spawns or when we approach a yellow elite, we cast Debilitating Roar for the defense and Cyclone Armor for the vulnerability proc. Immediately afterwards, we use Earthen Bulwark for some massive damage. We then cast Landslide until our spirit goes to 0 and then instantly refill it back to full with double Trample cast that also deals a lot of damage on its own. To finish it up, we empty our resources again with Landslide and proceed to evade through the enemy to make Petrify be off cooldown and then use it to reduce the rest of our cooldowns to 0 and get back to full spirit. We repeat this rotation until the boss or elite dies. Quite simple, right? Okay, joking aside, I know it is complicated, but trust me, it is really satisfying to use. As a separate tip, we can maneuver around any location by using Trample to get to any enemies and then follow it up with Petrify to have it immediately ready again. To repeat it in a loop, we can just evade through some enemies to reduce Petrify's cooldown again to 0, cast it, and with such do the same for Trample. Before we can even begin playing this build, there are several important steps we need to take first. It is absolutely required for us to possess all the uniques and set charms I previously mentioned. Moreover, all those have to be rolled with at least 3 out of 4 decent affixes, as if they are not, we won't have enough power or defense to tackle harder content. This requires an absurd amount of farming, making this build unsuitable as a starter. I, as a matter of fact, farmed everything I wanted whilst playing my other build, Stoneclaw Bear, to which I'll link you my guide in this video's description. It is also crucial for us to have a high roll legendary resource aspect of Apogeic Furor alongside Flicker Step unique charm with at least 3.4 aspect value. If we don't have those effects rolled high enough, our build just doesn't work as our cooldowns are too high. To make matters worse, our Kasim Stepwalker's unique boots have to have a +3 to evade charges affix, as without it we can't reduce our ult's cooldown efficiently. Lastly, this build should only be attempted once you reach 100% critical strike chance. While our damage output is more than sufficient, it heavily relies on large burst hits, meaning that failing to crit even once can significantly lower our overall damage. Reaching 100 critical strike chance is especially demanding, as properly optimizing this build requires Air of Perdition with a GA critical strike chance, gloves and an amulet with GA critical strike chance rolls, a legendary talisman seal with implicit critical strike chance. As it is so hard to begin playing with this build, I still have a lot of ways to improve. First of all, I currently can farm all T12 content easily, excluding some greater lair bosses that do not yet get insta-killed. This can for sure be fixed by having gem strength in our weapon, but as everyone knows, it is very hard to get one. Second of all, I pushed Pit 120 max with this build for now, but I did not use the Signet of Pelgain, so adding it to this build will also make it able to push higher pit levels. It yes has to be tested, how high though? Lastly, getting +3 to Trample on our unique boots and +3 to Earthen Bulwark on our unique chest will also boost our damage significantly, but rolling those stats alongside other needed affixes might be almost impossible. Please also remember that I just put this build together and it is so bizarre that I can clearly see anyone coming up with new ideas that will make it even stronger. Thus, I invite all of you to try experimenting with it on your own and checking whether I missed something that might help a lot. Please, if you do find something interesting, comment about it under the comment section of this video. If you are interested in following this build guide, then please use my written instruction that I will post on Mobalytics. There, I will include all the different build variants I deem viable, and I will explain all other mechanics in depth. I will add a link to it in this video's description, but I will post the written guide a few hours after the video's release, so stay tuned. I can promise you that there you will find everything you need to become the Druid Earth God. I'm now going to leave you with some more gameplay of this build so you can see more of it in action. For now, thank you for watching, and until next time, see you.